Let's move on to the next one. Have you seen this article in the New York Times, From Girl Boss to No Boss?
I have not, but I will say the term girl boss has always seemed really sexist to me.
Mm-hmm.
Is
So
that
this
short-sighted on my
story,
part?
yeah, this story is actually about how a lot of women don't feel represented either by girl boss or trad wife. They don't want to be this like cutthroat corporate person, and they don't want to be a stay-at-home mom or spouse. And it's about the new ways of finding freedom through freelancing and or building your own business or working for yourself and opting out of systems that are either extremely cutthroat and extremely masculine coded, or like Mark Zuckerberg's workplace, or um, or more feminine, like baking and taking care of the kids, and that being your entire identity. So I felt very represented by the article. This idea that there's a third way and that represents this more of a blend of feminine and masculine. And it sounds like a lot
Uh,
of other women are wanting that too.
Interesting. I've never thought of trad wife as truly feminine, and I think of a lot of the things I engage in as trad wife-ery, like
Right. On
making
the
food on my farm, raising animals, baking bread. Big fan of baking bread. Like I prepare most of the meals for my family, frankly. Um, because
you do it all, Vince, because you also you have both, and I think that's part of what the article was saying, though, that for women and people just to have the ability to have the more intellectual, financial, business side of things, plus the cooking, the making, the nurturing, and that has always been seen as one or the other for women. You're either
yeah,
wearing your pantsuit, steamrolling over men in the office, or you're wearing your dress, like, gathering eggs from the yard. I mean, that's a bit of a
which
silly
I
statement.
literally do.
Yeah.
I wear an apron and I gather eggs in it from my
And
chickens,
that's
right?
amazing. That's amazing. But
I love it.
you can do, I think it's amazing that you can do both in your life. And I think a
And
lot of
it's
women have struggled historically with, if I do one or the other, am I not getting enough of the other?
Yeah. And I have a freedom because nobody says, Vince, that's your role, or that's what you need to do, or Vince, this is you need to be more feminine, like
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be great at that. But yeah, I mean, for me, it just I I think it makes perfect sense to have a fight with somebody and be like, I'm gonna effing ruin you. You're never gonna work in this town together. We're gonna sue you to the ground. And then you go collect some eggs and you start a sourdough. You feed your sourdough, because you need 15, 20 minutes of self-care after you tell somebody you're gonna destroy them, right? Like, and to me that it's not male or female, it's just,
Existing as
gender's a
a human.
construct, which we have to be careful saying in some ways. We fully, at least I don't want to speak for you, certainly believe in gender identity claims. Not saying anything like that, but also gender is a construct to some extent. When you say I feel male, what does that mean? Do you feel that you have higher upper body strength? Like what are we talking about? Right? Like that's an interesting question. But yeah, for me, I don't know. I
Yeah, but
imagine it's hard having those pressures on you.
what you're describing is, I think, what a lot of people just want to do to exist as a human.
Yeah.
To it is this blend of fighting and survival and then nurturing and care and slowing down and not having to choose. And I
Yeah.
think most people don't realize that they don't have to choose because it's been so deeply programmed within us.
It's expensive. They might have to choose.
Yeah,
I'll
they
say
might.
it's really
That's true.
expensive.
That is true. Yeah, they might have to choose. And I that you're right. I
Not
think that
everybody can have the New York City office and live in New York City and work like, we do from time to time, and then also have the farm and have the farm man, like you have a farm manager because
yeah.
you're not always there. It adds up. It adds up. But the
Yeah,
quality of
but you
life,
also work your ass off, as do
yeah,
I, to be fair.
sure.
I think the sacrifice I make is, and I was just saying this to my boyfriend, I've been actually pretty exhausted because I'm always working, but I can work from wherever, and I
Yeah.
don't have to deal with uh, internal politics or having to shave off all these parts of myself in ways that I was doing before.
Mhm.
But you work your ass off to get to a point, I think. But but then of course there are other things that there's certainly societal and systemic things that prevent people from leading that life. I completely agree. And they have to choose just the survival piece of whatever is giving them survival, food, shelter in that moment. But what this article was saying is that more women than ever before are choosing to slow down a little bit rather than ascend the corporate ladder, but not in a way that feels like they're dropping out of the workforce, because they all still want to be working and intellectually engaged and building things, just not in the way that they were structured before.
Do you think that AI is going to make that shift continue? Like, are you going to see a lot of people working 2.5 days a week?
I do. I mean, I think there's the utopian and dystopian vision of AI, and the
Yeah.
utopian is definitely that people are able to focus more on art and children and growing food and nurturing their beings and souls and families or selves, whatever they want, because all of these tasks are being taken care of by technology. But then that, of course, implies that there are policy changes that enable universal basic income and that people do have a way to live in the face of all of this technological advancement. So I do think that that is the utopian vision. And then the dystopian vision is just that there's no social safety net. People are simply replaced. They're priced out of places where they were living. They don't have childcare. They have to almost demote themselves into being low paid laborers and workers. Uh, and things just become harder and harder for people. So hopefully we reach an in between. I think both of those things are very, the utopian vision is pie in the sky. The dystopian, sadly, probably is a bit more realistic. But I do think that for some, I'm sure there are some use cases in which AI will lead to less working in the corporate sense. But then the question is, how do people sustain themselves? And maybe it is through people become small businesses in and of themselves. And that's what this article was saying, that women are, they themselves are the business, or it's them plus partnerships, kind of like how we partner sometimes, or
Yep.
I partner with other women, and it's not like we're not forever tied to each other, but so long as we like working together, and that is the network that sustains us as individuals, which then
Mhm.
become individual businesses and livelihoods. And so I do see that that is a future for some people. The question is just access, and in order to live that way, you have to have access and to be able to give each other goods and services and support each other outside of big business.
Yeah. I think that makes perfect sense. And I think you're the perfect person to answer this in a lot of ways. With a lot of the guys, and it certainly doesn't have to be gender based, but a lot of guys will talk about, the impending AI apocalypse of job availability. And, you know, for the past 15 years, people have been saying, learn to code, learn to code, learn to code. Very clearly, learning to code was not the correct path, and you will not be making an income that way in the world of AI, um, unless you're in the top 1% of coders, and you can oversee the AI, right? Like that's
Yeah.
so like I'll have conversations with people like, you could go to a welding program for 4 to 6 weeks and you could make $80 an hour if you get really, really good at passing a welding test. And yeah, sure, you might need to travel sometimes for your job. They might put you up in a hotel 2 weeks away, 2 weeks away from your home, but like still $80 an hour, you're working, you're making a living, you're pursuing your passions. Welding's not going to break your back. It's not like roofing. I've done roofing. It's brutal. That heat,
Yep.
that weight. Welding is artisanal. You're doing fine work, and it can really pay. And those jobs are going to be everywhere because the infrastructure build needs that we have right now, like we don't have the power plants, we don't have the infrastructure. We're nearshoring and bringing back industry theoretically. That's the claim, at least. And all of that has to get built. And I think a lot of people, all the driving all the driving jobs are going. They're all going to be, better than anybody with your Uber
Yeah.
uh, residency. Like those jobs are all gone in 10 years. Not a
Right.
single one's left. Those are like 98% male jobs dominated. Where are those guys going?
Right.
Finnish carpenters, welders. If you're lucky, plumbing or electrician, but you're probably not going to want to put in the work. It's a lot of work, you know? And
Yeah,
we just sleep on it. We're like, oh, what's the richest guy in a neighborhood? What's the richest person? The person who owns 6 plumbing vans. It's not, it's not the CEO.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I met a couple of weeks ago with a guy who is a lawyer and did a lot of whistleblower work for this nonprofit and was well known for that work. And he told me he's scaled back his time doing that to like 10 or 20%. And the rest of his time is being spent he's spun up a mold eradication business.
Wow.
It's like it is so lucrative and it's so needed. Like people can't
Yeah.
live in houses where there's a mold problem. And I think he got like a several state monopoly for some ingredient, uh,
Wow.
eradicate the mold, and it's doing well. And he said exactly what you're saying now, that that is where a lot of wealth is, like blue collar jobs are
Yeah.
needed. We're not having robots showing up to our doors. We need humans. We need specialized labor. And it's so true. And people can make a good living doing that.
Tremendous living. That story about that attorney sounds just like, did you read The Have and Have Nots, Hemingway?
Oh, a long time ago in high school, but I haven't recently.
I just remember this closeout scene where he's like, he talks about all the bad people that make their money and everything. And at the very end, no spoilers, not really part of the story. He like presents this like family that sells like a nice product that people use to clean their homes. And it's just very simple. Like, this is the service. We sell a cleaning product. That guy, that attorney sells a mold remediation product, right? And it's just like, yeah, the product works. It's just a service. You want it, you don't want it, you pay for it. It's not a high conflict business like what we do a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's just a product. It's not even a service. Nobody's gonna call you up and be like, I don't like the way you talk to me while you
I
remediated my
know.
mold. You know,
It's so true.
it's just the product. It's so easy. I always wish like what what a quality of life to just have a product. Here's my widget.
No.
Here's my phone case. Buy
Right.
my phone case. I don't
Well,
know.
he made the great point too that it's just low drama, as you're saying,
Yeah.
compared to it's not people reading into your tone of voice and
Yeah.
then it's not, because what we do is so deeply human and personal, and I love it in a way. But I know what you mean, the simplicity of just being like, would you like to buy this candle? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Or would you like to, yeah, I mean, or someone who desperately has a need to solve something in their house and they just want the professional to come in and that's it. It's
Yeah.
just a change of,
100%.
yeah.
And you get to avoid all these conversations. Like I had a conversation weeks ago, whatever. Somebody was like, "Oh, uh, I had to be like, oh, they're only going to offer you 300 grand. You're only going to get 300 grand in this case. If you want to settle, it's all we can do on the case. We can take it to trial if you want to take it to trial, but like we can only settle it for 300 grand. That's all the money there is. There's no more. They're not going to give more. There's a very specific reason why they can't give more. This is what they're offering you." And the person was like, "Well, I just don't know that you care what I do." And I was like, "Yeah, no, this happened to you. Like it's your choice. That is,
Hmm.
I don't care." And she's like, "Well, you would get money if I settle." And I was like, "Yeah, but I get 450 of these a year. I'm doing all right. Like it's fine."
Yeah,
And it took me aback that like normally people are like, "I love that you're not trying to force something on me." And
right.
this individual is like, "You don't give a F what I do right now." And
Oh,
that bothered her. And I was like, "No, my job is to empower you. Like my job is to I went and I got the money. You have the choice now. You've been empowered. You have the choice. You decide." I don't tell you, but her take was like, "You're a piece of shit because you don't care." And I'm like, "Well, that's kind of the
it's
the
almost like
point."
she
Like,
wanted, like they want, or he, she, whoever wanted an audience, wanted validation from you that it was like what to do, on what
I
to
mean,
do, and
it's not
it is.
enough. It's not
Yeah,
enough money. Like I don't feel
right,
it's enough. It's just all there is for a very good reason, you know?
right. But yeah, it's that person's life.
Yeah, it's her life. It's her choice. And it would have been nice to just been like, yeah, so you tell me yes or no. And instead I'm in this hour and a half conversation of like, well, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
That's part of my job is to not pressure you. I can give
Right.
you advice, but if I was pressuring you, I would be part of the problem in my
Right.
eyes. And her take is like, nah, you're part of the problem now. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, and it's like you can't win because if you're too passionate, then it's a problem. If you're dispassionate, it sounds like in this case it's a problem, but it's better for what you do to be a bit just take a step back. And I don't have it's better for you not to get, I would imagine, overly emotional about it because then it would make you less effective at what you do.
Definitely. And if I'm like talking her out of a settlement of 300,000 and then we go to trial and we lose, that's her life.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, you know? I mean, and I'm not going to guarantee a trial win. That would just be malpractice, right? So it's just one of these things where you're like, yeah, listen, I don't know, 300 grand's not enough. I don't think it's enough. It is all the money that's there for a very specific legal reason, and you can take it or leave it. We can go to trial. We'll back you to trial. You know, it's just, and those conversations are wearing in a way that obviously I'm still thinking about weeks later. Like,
Hmm.
and I've worked on that so much because there's been parts of my career where I was like telling people you should take this. It's a good deal for you, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't feel comfortable with that anymore to the same extent. But yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Selling a product
I
sounds amazing.
suppose no one, it's very rare that somebody goes to their mold remediation person and says, "You don't care enough about this mold."
Yeah, where's your
Goes,
passion for
yeah,
black mold?
yeah, you are not angry enough about this mold.
Yeah, we
Uh,
listen. We're in the wrong line of work.
yeah, right. Okay, speaking of AI, this is an article about how Amazon now requires staff to show AI use to get promoted at Ring and some of their other units. So they have to, what you were saying about the overseers of the AI, those people have to prove that they know what they're doing, and then that's going to be the way in which they can actually climb the ladder. It's wild seeing, I'm sure you saw this, that Meta was poaching all of those AI engineers and offering to pay them $100 million. I mean, it's insane.
Listen, Meta fired a bunch of AI engineers and then immediately tried to hire them back. Like it's just a mess. Like it's Meta is very poorly run. They can't. We have a lot of cases against them right now. Like they can't figure out which defense firms they've hired to defend which cases. We've had
Mm,
multiple defense firms come forward on individual cases. Three firms claiming they're defending the case, all of
mm,
whom probably have 30, 40, $50,000 retainers in their bank account on this case. And it's just like, hey guys, we're happy to smack y'all around, but you might want to figure this out because you're tripping billing right now. And it's just wild. Their chief legal officer freaks out when she receives cases. Apparently, we've had multiple firms, in-house attorneys, and firms contacted. Like, you have to stop upsetting the uh, the chief legal officer. She gets really upset when you send her the cases. That's her job. That's literally
yeah.
her job. Is to her office receives the cases. That's her job, and then she assigns you idiots, not idiots, but these defense attorneys to go and fight the case, right? Like that's the job. And they're like, well, you got to stop bothering her. You can send them to us. I'm like, you're not Meta. You're just a
Mm,
defense firm. I'm not sending it to you. I'm sending it to Meta's attorney because you have not been hired on the case yet, right? Like it's no.
mm.
And apparently, like, real issue for her. We've had this
Interesting.
conversation 20 times with 20 different firms. And it's just like, yeah, we're not going to let her off the hook. She's going to have to do her job at the very minimum.
Yeah.
Like it's very
Why
strange.
why do you think she isn't?
I think she's a lobbying attorney.
Okay.
So I looked at her pedigree a little bit because I couldn't fathom what was going on with this strangeness. And it just looks like maybe no practice at all. No actual legal work of any kind, pure lobbying and compliance with like federal law, maybe, which is a way to be an in-house attorney. Certainly Meta has lots of needs vis-a-vis Congress and the government and everything. Like I get it. I'm not saying that's a bad way to she's had an amazing career. She's doing tremendously. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you'd at least need to hire someone to do the litigation aspect of your job at that point, right? There's got to be
Yeah.
someone who
Well,
does
because
that.
there's a limit to how much an outside firm can actually go into the employee databases or whatever they're using to track
Yep.
people's performance and track the different levels. I mean, how much does a defense firm, external firm, know about their client?
Not enough.
Like, yeah.
And clearly someone in-house had to make the decision on the recent meta layoffs, which have very regrettable data in terms of
Mhm.
disabilities, parental leaves, age discrimination. I mean, tremendous amounts of claims were created with those layoffs through what I would argue is tremendously bad judgment at the
Mhm.
in-house attorney level. Certainly they were advised by their layoff compliance people, like this is a bad idea. There's no question. And I think part of the panic on their end is probably like, we created very serious cases with this, very serious
Yeah.
data driven cases. And that
And
might be part of the freak out. Yeah.
at a certain point, I know that perhaps initially they don't care as much and they just see it as collateral damage. Whatever amount of money you're able to help people get, it's collateral damage for them to build the workplace they want to build. They just have to get rid of people and they'll pay whatever litigation ensues. But at a certain point, if it's so much, if there's so many cases and it's comprising so much work for these teams, that's a shareholder value issue, issue that is not good for their stock price. I can't imagine if they're just spent, if everything is spent basically scurrying to defend from these lawsuits that could have easily been prevented. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. And yeah, I do know that they have risk teams that just assume risk. They'll say, I was talking to somebody who, this is a story for another time, but I'm working on a story with a source in the FBI, which has been very
Oh,
interesting, related to these ghostwriting scams being driven by Pakistani cartel
yes. Yes.
uh, that are bizarrely raking in tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars from usually elderly Americans who get an email and it says, we want to tell your life story and get you a deal on Netflix. And they're bored and flattered and maybe a little bit vain, and they take these people up on their offer. And these people don't actually exist. They're working in sweatshops to get money, take the money and run, essentially.
Yeah.
And so Google is aware of this because a lot of these Pakistani groups, many of which have opened up shell companies in Texas, are huge customers of Google Ads. And
Ah,
yeah, I don't know who I don't know who the FBI agent is, but we've been talking a lot over Signal. And what they are saying to me is that Google's risk people, they're fully aware and they know that they're like, well, we get paid tens of millions of dollars from these Pakistanis. So even if it's this major operation that the FBI and DOJ are undertaking to go after these scams, it doesn't matter because we're making a lot of money in the interim. So I do think at those levels, there's an amount of in, there's enormous appetite for risk still. Um, but I think it crashes and burns at some point. I don't know. It doesn't seem sustainable to me.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, listen, obviously the appetite for risk goes up when you're dealing with 100 million over a million, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree completely.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Okay, so our final story. I had this interesting email come in the other day from this woman who used to lead creator partnerships at Vox Media, and she's now at
Oh,
this new company. And they must have found my TikTok or something. I don't know. And she says, "Oh, we're interested in potentially working with you as a creator, but first we need you to sign this NDA." Um, and it was and I ended up signing it. But it was definitely in the sense of, we're going to share with you some sort of technology or app, and we don't want you to divulge to a competitor, to the public, what it is that we're doing. And I don't know what it is that they're doing yet. So it did seem the NDA itself didn't seem all that scary. But that leads me into this story that, did you see in the UK, the government is looking to ban NDAs in the case of workplace harassment. And I don't think it's passed yet. Um, but that would be pretty large for an entire country to do that.
huge. Yeah.
Um,
They'd be following California to an extent.
right.
And of
So
course the somewhat fake laws in New York and New Jersey that aren't really effective.
really, why are they not as effective?
Well, in New York State, it's very specifically designed to be a fake law. So
Eh,
what's required is you can't have, confidentiality unless the victim asks for it. So then all
mm,
defendants just say, "Hey, we would settle, but we do need you to ask for confidentiality." Um,
mm,
and it's just the law is completely sidestepped. There's a brief waiting period, but the law was designed to be like good for, and I won't mention generally a good politician, but it was designed to be good for that politician's career. And she achieved something, but it
yeah.
was designed to not be effective from the ground up, like from whole cloth. In New Jersey, it was just poorly written. My understanding it was written by like Ivy League children, and they just didn't know how to write law, you know?
Yeah. Well, they probably didn't have as much life experience either to
Yeah,
think
I
through
would
or
imagine if you're just an intern out of, the Ivies, maybe you don't
yeah,
fully know how to write
I
a statute.
totally. That's
Um,
all
that's
for the
all. You had a
stories.
great story this week, I thought,
Oh,
from your
thank you.
Substack.
Yeah,
I was a big
about the
fan.
AI law firm. And Crosby AI is born out of Sequoia Capital, one of the biggest VC firms in Silicon
Yeah.
Valley. And they are claiming it's the first AI law firm. And a friend had actually brought it to me because he's dabbled a little bit in like AI for contracts. He's a lawyer and he's been interested in that. And um, he brought it to me and he's like, that's so interesting. They were able to get around the bar rules because you can't, I think only in Nevada, there's some states where you can be non-lawyers and be like a shareholder or owner of a law firm, but
Yeah.
in most
It's
places
happened
you
in a couple places. One of the purchase of Binder and Binder by private equity, and
mm,
then the subsequent failure of private equity and selling back, I believe, Binder and Binder to the Binders for like $1 or something like that. Possibly apocryphal, but like that was the original non-attorney owning a law firm situation that I was aware of. And they're very quickly in a variety of states just not interested in law firms being owned by lawyers anymore for whatever reason.
hmm.
It's interesting. It's a change. It's a big change in the industry.
Yeah, I mean,
We get
I,
private equity firms that try to buy us twice a year.
ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
which not it's not scary. It's just they come, they're like, "Hey, you did a valuation 9 years ago. We think it's gone up since then. Like, we'd
No,
like what?
I'm just saying oof because I feel like private equity is trying to buy everything.
They are. I don't know why they would want like this business does not scale. Like it's very based on our earlier conversation, it's very personal, right? Like it's you have to be here and do it every day. That is not the private equity model at all.
Well, maybe they're partnering with Crosby and
Maybe.
for
Maybe the
AI.
AI is going to do it.
Oh man. Yeah, that was an interesting story and the idea that, but I think the consensus is that that's not happening anytime soon. I mean, people can put
Yeah.
things through an AI, put some contracts through, but you're always going to need a human, at least for the short to midterm foreseeable future.
I got a call from a journalist about your story where you quoted
Oh,
me in your story. Yeah. And I was kind of like, you should talk to Ariella. And apparently, no, that's not. Apparently, no. Apparently journalists don't talk. But yeah, it was interesting. And listen, my quote was basically like, listen, AI is not ready for the real world in legal yet. 3 to 5 years. Today, it's just an active malpractice machine. That's all it
yeah,
is. There's,
yeah.
there's no question. We've tested over 10 products at this point. It's does not work.
No, I would not trust it.
Yeah. Anything we're linking below?
Ooh, we can link this story below to the
I love it.
Substack, and
Okay.
then we all have some interesting stories in the coming weeks.
Super
Um,
excited.
one to do with this Google Ads situation that I mentioned, and then
Ooh.
another one to do with Meta and data centers.
Meta and data centers. Are we talking about powering data centers? What are we talking about?
The workers at data centers.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh, this could get dark. I can't
yeah.
wait. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
So, right? Yeah. So
Okay.
that those will be coming soon.
All right. You want to send me links for whatever we're including? And
Yeah.
always a pleasure, Ari. Everybody, if this was helpful, even if it wasn't, like, subscribe, comment down below. We also take the thumbs down. We actually don't care. Any interaction is good. Take care, everybody.
Bye.